Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and today we're going to be doing episode 7 of 5 more board game rule mistakes. Some that I've made myself and been teaching others, whoops, and then others that people have taught me incorrectly. All that being said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow, and for those of you already subscribed, thank you so much for the support. Let's get started talking about some board game rules mistakes. The first game that I want to talk about is Merchants of the Dark Road. This is one of the most recent Kickstarter deliveries that we've had, and this has you playing as a merchant, going around a rondel, taking actions, picking up people, selling them items, and then taking them to various destinations. Now this game's action system is where the rule was incorrect, and that has to do with the bonus actions. So on your turn, you'll take one of these dice in this wheel here, and then that dice will take the place of one of your pre-existing ones. That dice will push forward, you'll activate a bonus action, and then it'll move up into this top section here, which lets you move around the board. Now, one of these actions here allows you to craft items, and the item that you craft is based on the pips of the die that you move and replace this new one with. So for example, if you have this 3 die here when you craft, you're going to make a staff, or if you have this 1 here, you're going to craft, oh wait, here's the rule mistake. So the 1 in particular, there are 2 1s on this dice, and we just didn't notice the first couple of plays, and this is something that you need to know. There is a 1 that has the center filled in, and that gets you a gun when you craft with it. And then there's one without the center filled in, and that gets you an armor. We totally missed this in our first couple plays, and then just realized it, because we were like, wow, there's so much flexibility. It's like, oh my gosh, this is why. Go figure, there are 2 specific dice faces, which means on the dice, there's also 2 1s, which is kind of an interesting thing to know. You have about a 33% chance of rolling a 1 on those. So I thought that was interesting because this is an action that you're probably going to use a lot because it's powerful to just get a free item. So that's the first rule mistake. There are 2 different 1s in Merchants of the Dark Road. The next game I want to talk about is Wingspan, an engine building game where you're going to be using cards that are birds. You'll have an aviary in front of you, placing birds into different habitats, and then using actions in those habitats and getting bonuses for the birds that you've placed. Now, one of the actions you'll be taking is the draw bird cards action, and this is something I've been playing wrong for a while, and I think maybe I forgot about because it was reminded to me again, and this has to do with drawing cards. Whenever you draw a card to take that action, you can draw from this face-up display of 3 or from the top of the deck randomly, and then you'll refill these cards. Now, that being said, they do not refill until the end of your turn, so if you're drawing multiple cards during the turn, you have to only choose from that display of 3, and then everything else will be from the top of the deck. Very minor, but a big deal. It limits the choice that you have on your turn and is going to have you pulling randomly a couple of times, which is kind of cool because if you know you're drawing a lot of cards, maybe you draw randomly from the top first and then leave that selection of 3 for later now that you have some information on what you've been taking. So that's a quick little rule in Wingspan. When you take bird cards from the center display, you do not refill it until the end of the turn. The next game I want to talk about is Modern Art. This is an auctioning game that features a variety of types of auctions. When it's your turn, you'll play a card from your hand face up to the table, and everyone will bid on that card in a specific way. Whoever wins gives you the money, which is awesome, but that artist who actually created the painting will get more popular. At the end of the round, whoever has the most of their paintings out will get values assigned to them using this track. Now, 30 is the highest, 20, then 10, so whoever didn't make the most popular 3 is not going to be worth anything. And this is really important because at the end of each round, you sell your paintings for whatever it says if that person is currently popular. So right now in this last round, nobody is selling a Sigrid Thaler or a Rafael Severa painting, but everyone else is getting lots of value for their paintings because those values add from round to round. Now, the thing that we were playing incorrectly was during a new round, if someone is popular, everyone else who isn't popular gets rid of all of their tokens from previous rounds. And as you can see here, the players are doing it correctly, where in the second round here, Sigrid, Manuel, and Daniel, all 3 of them got some value for their paintings, but Ramon did not. In our version we were playing, we would have discarded Ramon's token. He's no longer popular, none of his paintings are worth anything, and they won't be worth anything later. But this is a little bit more forgiving, because if you have a hand of cards for a specific character who just maybe had a bad round, at least you can save them for a future round and pick up some of that value that they obtained earlier. So I really like this system. It means that certain paintings are not going to be skewed super high, and I like the pacing of this. It's a lot more smooth in the way that it's tracked, and you can kind of hope that someone's painting will be a little bit more valuable later. So that's the rule from Modern Art. When somebody is not the most popular, they do not get rid of their tokens, but can retain them for future rounds when they are the most popular. The next game here is the Quacks of Quedlinburg. This is a push your luck game where you play as potion makers. You'll be pulling out chips from a bag, placing them into your cauldron, and if you ever have more than 7 white chips, you'll explode and have to stop what you're doing. It's all about pushing your luck and trying to get as far as you can without reaching that threshold or exploding. Now, the new expansion here, the Quacks of Quedlinburg, the Alchemists, is one that I've been enjoying a lot recently, and there are some cool features in it that allow you to mitigate your pot as well as do creative things with your actions during the actual pulling phase, so you can interrupt your actions throughout or get some bonuses at the end. I really like this system. However, there's one key thing that we weren't sure about, and this is something that you should just know playing the expansion in general, and that's that all of these actions are optional. And that is huge, because sometimes you might get some bonus here from your end of round bonuses that might push you from a specific number you're looking for, or maybe rubies. There are some witches that give you extra points or rubies for being on specific spaces. So you may find it in the best interest to ignore some of these effects. It's all based on the amount of essence that you get through putting different colored things in your pot. But keep in mind, you can always ignore the effect here. It's never mandatory. And that's huge because it can play into your strategy. So that's the rule in Quacks of Quedlinburg the Alchemists, is the essence effects are always optional. The last rules mistake in this video is for the game 12 Days, a hand management game based on the 12 Days of Christmas song. Pretty much everything in this game has to do with the 12 days. There's 1 partridge in a pear tree, there's 2 turtle doves, so on and so forth, and every time you play, you'll be fighting for a day of Christmas. So the first thing that you do is you look at your hand, you pass a card to the person on the left, and then you play a card from your hand face down. You're fighting for the day. Whoever puts the lowest number, there's only 1 so it's definitely the best card, you'll flip it over, and if you have the lowest, you take the day. It's worth that many points. Now, the rules mistake that we had was actually taught to me by someone else, and it really ruined the game for me. It completely got rid of an entire aspect of scoring. We were playing where that was the only way you were scoring, but there is a second way to score, and that has to do with the hand management. Every round when you pass a card, there's actually some meaning behind that. You're not just passing the highest cards, you are looking for specific numbers, because at the end of the game, in addition to the days that you've won, you add those points, but you'll also get points for having the most of a specific number in your hand. There are 12 12s in the game. That's something you should just be aware of. It matches the song, right? But if you have the most 12s in your hand at the end of the game, you score 12 extra points, and you're allowed to have 12 cards in your hand. So how many of those cards in your hand do you want to commit to specific numbers? I think this is a really cool idea, and it makes sense with the gifting phase. Do you play a card just to not break sets because, hey, I want to make sure that I'm winning these extra points? There's also some other things to throw wrenches into the plans, but the big thing here is that the hand management actually matters because you are going for that majority scoring at the end. And I thought that was a great little twist for this game, and it's extremely thematic and appropriate. I really like the way it plays out. So that's the rules mistake in 12 Days, and that's that an additional scoring option at the end is having majorities for each of the numbers at the end of the round and scoring points based on that number. And that's it. Those are the 5 rules mistakes that I've done in the last couple of weeks. Have you made any of these mistakes yourselves? Have you made any rules mistakes on games we didn't talk about here? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching. Side Game Strong.